Hello, welcome. To close the year on a high note, I bring two highly anticipated pieces of news about Citron. The first is a lost version that, until now, almost only I had, fixing issues in games running on Unreal Engine. The second is that firmware 19 is almost fully implemented in the emulator's kernel, and will finally be released to the public. Additionally, for Linux users, there's another big update. Zep allowed me to release an early access build. I admit I don't know much about Linux, but maybe now you'll be able to use Citron on the Steam Deck. There are a lot of updates, and we still have a showcase with several Unreal Engine games to show. So let's get to the point. Starting with the Windows build that fixes most of the Unreal Engine games. This was a test build that Zephyron initially shared with only me. I was told it fixed issues with Unreal Engine games and also brought adjustments related to firmware 19. However, since I was focused on creating other content, I ended up putting this version aside. As you already know, and in case you haven't seen it yet, I'll leave the link in the card. Citron went through several attacks that took down its servers. During this period, Zephyron directed all her efforts into restoring them. In this context, it was believed that the version with Unreal Engine fixes had been lost, since I was the only one with the compiled file. Fortunately, while reviewing my downloads folder, I found the version and shared it with Zephyron. She was able to identify the corresponding build in the backup, which allowed it to be recovered. Now, with permission, I can share it with you. Remember that this is a WIP version. Errors or instabilities may still arise, but while Citron's servers are not back to normal, this is the most up-to-date version available so far. You can find the version in the video description. At the moment, we don't have a similar build for Android, but once it's available, I will share it with you. This version brought amazing improvements for games like Mortal Kombat 1, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and many others. Now, I will show a preview of my tests. Before that, leave a like to keep receiving new builds, and if this is your first time on the channel, consider subscribing to keep up with all the updates. The first game tested was Ace Combat 7, running at 4K resolution. I used this setup to compensate for the lack of anti-aliasing on the Switch, resulting in a very pleasant visual appearance, similar to a modern PC game. With unlocked FPS, the performance remained consistently above 80 FPS, with no graphical issues or performance drops throughout the entire first phase gameplay. Batman Arkham Knight also stood out, considering the history of its problematic PC port. In the emulated Switch version, with unlocked FPS, the game exceeded 60 FPS, maintaining stability in the open world. The only drops occurred during the compilation of new shaders. For those who know this game, they understand how grand it is. Soon I will bring gameplay of it on Android. Overall, it's a masterpiece that I highly recommend. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, one of the best Metroidvanias released in recent years, now presents a completely smooth gameplay experience. Previously, the game would stutter during play, but this build fixed the issue. It now runs without performance drops or graphical glitches. This is another title I plan to test on Android as soon as a new build is available, as I know many want to play it on mobile devices. Bright Memory Infinite is one of the games I've shown that already performs decently on Android. On Windows, it also delivers smooth and fluid gameplay. There are some delays during gameplay when compiling new shaders, but once most of them have been compiled, the performance is satisfactory. I tested, totally casually, Dragon Ball FighterZ. However, without installing mods, just with the update, the game crashes after a few minutes. As you may already know, this is not the best way to play it, as there are hacks that improve stability. Still, I wanted to test Citron's accuracy. On the other hand, Dragon Ball Kakarot ran without any issues. Although it is still not possible to run it at 60 FPS without mods, for those who want to play it emulated on Windows, the experience is already excellent. There are no longer the accuracy problems that existed before, nor random crashes. Dragon Quest XI, another great JRPG released recently, still piques the interest of many. I've already shown it running very well on Android, and on Windows, using 4K resolution. As you can see in the image, we were able to maintain the gameplay above 60 FPS, with no visual issues or crashes. Another highlight was Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, a game I consider a masterpiece in the world of gaming. I recommend that anyone who hasn't played it yet take the opportunity to experience it. Despite this, the game has some issues. Tree branch textures sometimes appear colored, and during cutscenes, the gameplay may seem slow, something related to the engine running on the Switch. The FPS counter, however, remains fixed at 30 FPS. Despite these small graphical issues, the game is already in a very good stage. I also had my first decent experience with Mortal Kombat 1 since its release. It's worth mentioning that the gameplay was recorded on the infamous version 1.0, which can take over 3 minutes to load and still present issues, as you'll see. In terms of gameplay, I've always had performance issues with this game, struggling to maintain 60 FPS, even without compiling shaders. However, now I consider the game playable. It is possible to maintain full speed, except during fatalities, which still show performance drops. Mortal Kombat 11, another game that struggled on user-based emulators, now presents solid performance. Although I didn't record the FPS counter in this gameplay, the same one used in the last video about Citron, I can confirm that the performance remains at 60 FPS most of the time, without slowdowns. Some objects show small vertex explosions, but from what I've played, this doesn't affect gameplay. No Man's Sky is another game that is now playable, with no major visual problems, although some objects may be rendered with incorrect textures, as explained in Hellblade. The only downside was the initial loading time, which I found excessive. However, this may be a characteristic of the Switch port. Overall, many people were excited to play this game in the last video, and now that will be possible. Pikmin 4, the only Switch exclusive in this video, also had its graphical and performance issues fixed in this version. The gameplay is now smooth and without graphical problems. This is a game I plan to test on Android soon, but for those who want to play it on a Yuzu port, this might be the best time. I recommend using 60 FPS mods because the game is light, and I'm sure it will deliver 60 FPS on many PCs, even entry-level ones. Finally, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a game I've been focusing on for a long time. Although there were fixes, the game frequently crashed, making me lose progress, which was frustrating since I had to save after each fight to avoid setbacks. Fortunately, this stability issue has been minimized. Even running with all quality mods enabled, 8K shadows, distance rendering improvements, the game ran completely stable. Previously, with all these mods, I couldn't play for even 2 minutes. In conclusion for this version, many might argue that most of these games have PC ports, and that playing on the ports offers a much better experience. I completely agree. However, it's important to remember that the main Citron version is PC-based, and when things start to work well here, they tend to show up on Android too. With these improvements, it's possible that in a few weeks, I will redo all of these benchmarks, this time on an Android device. Additionally, there are users who prefer to stay away from illegal software on PC or who emulate simply out of enthusiasm for the technology. An important reminder, for this version to work better, the firmware used should be version 19 or later. If you've played some of these games before, it's recommended to restart all of your shaders, as there are now 3 new compilation methods. Overall, I'm very excited for what Citron has in store for us in 2025. Stay tuned, as I'm trying to bring something big for you next week. Speaking about the Linux side, Zephyron herself has been using a PC with this system and since the week of Christmas, has focused on bringing the Linux version up to the level of the Windows version. I admit I'm a noob in Linux, but it seems she installed SteamOS on her device and has been testing several games. As soon as I have more news, I'll share it with you. At the moment, the main focus of emulation on Linux has been Mario Party Jamboree. Initially, the game only made it to the home screen, but more recently, we've managed to get gameplay, although the characters weren't rendered. Yesterday, Zephyron sent me a new image showing that the characters now appear correctly. For many, this might seem like a small progress, but remember that Zephyron has been working exclusively on Linux since all the servers were taken down. She dedicated practically the entire week between Christmas and New Year's to implementing these improvements. I can't test the Linux builds, but I'll leave the download link in the video description. Anyone more familiar with the system can test them and share their experience in the comments. Keep in mind that this is a work-in-progress version. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of you for 20,000 subscribers. Just this year, we gained over 10,000 new followers. Even after completely changing the content to avoid issues with Nintendo, you all continued supporting me. This opened doors for the channel to receive controllers and other products for testing and demonstrations. In this new year, I hope to bring even more quality to the channel. With YouTube allowing creators to publish videos with multiple audio tracks, I can start using my own narration. This way, I can cater to both the Portuguese-speaking audience and those who prefer to avoid AI-generated voices. This will allow you to feel the emotion and tone that only a human voice can convey. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who was here this year, Whether watching the videos, participating in our Discord, or even the more discreet ones who just left a like. Each of you is responsible for every achievement of this channel. Happy New Year to all, see you in 2025, and stay tuned, because I will do my best to bring even more first-hand news.